sound of your life. Perfectly imperfect. Beating in rhythm to the world you've created. But every time you drive after drinking, music gets drowned out. Your life sounds pretty great. Don't let a buzz ruin it. Buzz driving is drunk driving. Don't drive buzzed. A message from Nitsa in the Ad.
The voice of the Caribbean. Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, X, TikTok, and YouTube.
Welcome back. It's the Suzette Speak Show. The time is now 1:34. We're so excited to have a special guest joining us right now. She is our resident immigration expert, none other than Miss Opa Lee. You can join her each and every Monday through Wednesday for the Global Brief, and we are grateful that she has made some time here to talk about the topic I really wanted to get into today, which is TPS. Good afternoon. Let me get her off hold. There we go. Good afternoon, Miss Lee.
There we go. Thank you so much for having me, Suzette.
Yes, I'm so grateful that you have some time, and I know you're such a busy lady. You help a lot of people who have immigration issues, so we want to jump right into it. What is the latest in terms of what does this latest court ruling mean for the 350,000 or so, Haitians, Syrians, and I think there are 5 other countries that are also impacted? What does the latest court ruling mean for those members of our community?
Well, it's not really good news. Of course, right now it officially ended or terminated TPS, especially for Haiti, back on July 27th of this year. And so that affects over 300,000 Haitian nationals, of course, have lost their legal status and their work. I see people in New York, for example, right now, because apparently there are a lot of Haitians who are helping in the medical field. And it really melts my heart to see the nurses there going out and actually protesting and saying, listen, guys, you got to do something. They're calling on Congress to please go ahead, because it's going to help the economy if they go ahead and do something to even extend the statuses of these TPS applicants. Of course, right now they're not budging. The administration is not budging. However, one thing that I see colleagues have been reporting is that the Department of Homeland Security has been placing ankle monitors on Haitians who were in the U.S. under the temporary protective status. So even if they may not take the person into custody, let's say they ask you to come ahead and report, or you have ICE contact, I don't even want to say it's a good news that they're not putting you into custody, because it's still a bad news when they're putting you on ankle monitors. I guess until your counsel can go ahead and fight to see if there's any other relief, for example, that you may have had, that while you had TPS or temporary protective status, that maybe you had filed for asylum, for example, or Convention Against Torture, or withholding of removal, or maybe you were one of the lucky ones who, even though you had entered unlawfully, you were able to get the re-entry permit and you had traveled back to, or traveled outside the United States, and when you had come back to the United States, you had a lawful entry. And if you are now married to a U.S. citizen, great news for you is that you can go right ahead now and file to adjust your status. Or if you, because I know a lot of people had TPS maybe from even 2010, so if you had a child who was born in the United States who is at least 21 years old or over, and you had a lawful admission, even though you were on TPS, that child can now go ahead and file for you. So even though the work permit may expire, it does not prevent you right now from going ahead and filing to adjust your status. The key, though, is that you have to have had lawful entry. So the entry itself had to have been lawful.
Such great information. This is the Suzette Speak Show with special guest Miss Opa Lee from Flow Jam Legal. Again, we're here giving you information. Of course, if you would like a consultation with Miss Opa Lee, she practices in this area. She has a wonderful experience, and she's giving us some of the tidbits that a lot of her clients pay to get. So it's important that if you have an individual case that you want to be assessed, that you call for specific information. Today's program is just for informational and entertainment purposes only, so you can have an idea of what's happening. As we're talking about our Haitian brothers and sisters, I know it's the diaspora is on edge. They're bracing for what could happen. I will play in a little bit a news story I got from Scripps reporting from Ohio, as Miss Opa Lee is just giving us ideas as to what our Haitian brothers and sisters who are here on TPS can do oftentimes, in order to stay, there is an option for, or some people may have an option for, a change of status. That's what she's describing. So even if you had TPS initially, there may be other circumstances now that exist within your life and your specific scenario that allows you to apply for a change of status so that you might be able to stay in the United States. Of course, I've been reading that among TPS holders from Haiti and Syria, 1/5 of them now have children who are Americans, children who were born here in the time they have been here under temporary protective status. Now, the people on the other side, those who are in support of ending temporary protective status, will argue, just to play devil's advocate, it was meant to be temporary. They'll say it's not something that was supposed to be permanent. But if the State Department, Ms. Lee, is giving us warnings about traveling to Haiti, saying that Haiti is dangerous, the capital is still 85% run by gangs. You can't even fly into the capital of Port-au-Prince. There is no place to land there. It's too dangerous. You got to fly into other cities. And, they are giving people, apparently, as Ms. Opalee has just told us, ankle monitors, which is also, from what I understand, unusual if a person does not have a criminal or a flight risk. They don't necessarily supposed to have ankle. Go ahead. Yes, ma'am.
But Suzette, though, one of the things with what you just said a while ago with the current country condition in Haiti, you know what the Trump administration is going to say in defense of that. They're saying that it is unsafe for Americans and non-Haitians to go back based on those country conditions. However, they're saying it is safe for Haitians to go back to their own country that they were born in. That's their argument. That's not my argument. I don't agree with it, but I'm just telling you what their answer to exactly what you just said when you said, okay, it's unsafe. What they're saying is that it's unsafe for Americans.
Miss Opalee, if you could see my face. The people on Twitch, the people on YouTube, on Facebook, they can see my face. Because if it's unsafe for Americans, what in the dickens make them feel it could be safe for Haitians who have been here now since the earthquake of 2010? That's more than 15 years. They were born there, but the country has changed. They had an assassination of a president, which we can't even get into in this conversation. Someone has just been convicted out of Coral Springs in Broward County for involvement and paying for the assassination attempt of the president there, and it's chaotic. And to think that separation of families is a real thing. We are talking about people as if they're numbers. The government is referring to them as numbers on a tablet or on a board. And, these people, these 300,000, some say 350,000 total with all the different countries that are involved, the 7 countries that TPS has been removed from. It is strange because remember, according to the policy, temporary protective status is a government protection granted by the Secretary of the Department of Homeland Security, DHS, to eligible foreign-born individuals who are unable to return home safely due to conditions or circumstances preventing their country from adequately handling their return. Mm-hmm. The Secretary can designate a country for TPS due to, remember, ongoing armed conflict, such as, civil war. In this case, we're talking about gang warfare. An environmental disaster, such as a hurricane or earthquake, an epidemic, or other extraordinary and temporary conditions. And we have seen now Haitians became available to the TPS program from 2010. TPS can be granted to an individual who is a national of those designated countries and has filed for status during the specific registration period and who has been continuously physically present in the United States since the designated date. Now, remember, this protection had just been removed by court order from our Haitian brothers and sisters, and it is going to have impacts beyond measure. I was just talking last week with my cousin. She's in hospitality. She said half her staff are TPS holders, and the employers are afraid to pay them because they don't want to get in trouble. And of course, now due to the change of status, no longer are our Haitian brothers and sisters being granted the TPS designation. So they were in status 1 week. Imagine this is your life, guys. And then the next week, thanks, no thanks. You're now out of status. You're no longer a TPS recipient. You have to go. This is quite alarming. Yes, ma'am.
they're requiring employers to now re-verify the Form I-9 documents. And that's exactly what you were just talking about, Suzette.
Oh, so if you're seeking some sort of solution, I'm sure there are so many of our listeners who know people who are impacted by TPS. As you were talking about the nurses in New York, here in Miami, here in Fort Lauderdale, the nursing, the CNAs, the transportation, the hospitality jobs, so ingratiated, paying taxes in our society, kids in school, all of the things that, again, everyday Americans, because we're living right alongside people who have come from very dire and dangerous places, they have been contributing and living within the law as a TPS holder, but now the status has changed. And we're talking about that change today here on the Suzette Speaks Show. Again, if you're just joining us, the time is 1:44. We have our resident immigration attorney, Miss Opa Lee from Flow Jam Legal. If you have a specific case where you want Miss Opa Lee to look in more detail and give you legal advice one-on-one, please be okay with contacting her, okay? Here we're just talking about it for informational purposes because this is such a big shockwave from Springfield, Ohio to New York to down here in South Florida where the highest concentrations of TPS holders, Haitian nationals, people who were coming from Haiti seeking refuge, granted TPS, and now it has not been renewed, and we're talking about that. Ms. Lee, when you talk about some of these change of status, these are ways that people can try to pursue their ability to stay here. Talk a little bit more about what you're seeing in your immigration law practice and what you are finding success with in terms of helping those who are trying to find a new status in order to be in the United States legally.
Right. So that is the number one way for people who have come from Haiti or Syria or from any of these countries is to file asylum. But the thing is that you have to file asylum within 1 year. There are limited exceptions where you can do it after the 1 year. For example, if you had valid TPS status from all that time since you had came in, so you believe you didn't really need to file an asylum since you're already here and had some form of protection, the judge can look at that and give you an exception to go ahead and still file it now, albeit it has been over 10 years, right? And definitely past the 1 year mark, because they will say, well, the reason why you did not do that before is because you had some protection. The other way is that you want to go ahead, if you do not qualify for asylum or withholding, it would be great if you had a family member who is when I say family, I mean an immediate relative, such as a spouse who is a U.S. citizen or actually a green card holder. As long as you don't have any unlawful status, the green card holder spouse would work for you. But otherwise, it has to be a U.S. citizen spouse or a U.S. citizen child that's at least 21 years old. Or sometimes it could even be an employer, as long as you remained in status. So if you're one of those who came over, for example, in 2010, and then you maintain TPS status all the way through, then yes, an employer could have went ahead and filed for you just before TPS terminated on July 27th because you were in lawful, some legal status all the way until then. If you did not do it before then, well, it's kind of bad right now. But the only way, though, is if you are married to a U.S. citizen or have a child who's at least 21 years old. If you did not have a lawful admission, you may have to apply for a provisional waiver, and unfortunately, you may have to depart after that waiver and re-enter the United States lawfully. But that's for a whole consultation we would have to go through and explain in greater detail because everything will be a case-by-case basis.
Ms. Lee, I know you're busy, so I thank you. Ms. Opa Lee, Flow Jam Legal, if I want to give you the last word because, again, we're talking about TPS. A federal judge has officially ended the temporary protected status, TPS, for Haitians and Syrians and others following a U.S. Supreme Court ruling that allowed the Trump administration to revoke their protections. The Department of Homeland Security says Haitians who no longer have legal status cannot remain in the United States without another legal basis to stay. The agency, this I found interesting, this is according to Scripps News, the agency is also offering $2,600 to migrants who voluntarily leave the country. But then again, I'm like, where are they going? But immigration advocates warn that the decision could separate families and send people back to a country the U.S. government considers too dangerous for Americans to even visit. So I hear this 2,600 if people want to leave voluntarily. I know people are going to be afraid of ICE sweeps. People are saying in other parts of the country. I'm actually, when I let you go, Miss Lee, I'm going to play a little clip from Scripps News talking about Ohio. We're seeing ankle bracelets put on people in different parts of the country. And of course, the big thing is economic. People no longer can work. So what is the message you like to leave our listeners with? Ms. Opal Lee, attorney who handles these type of cases, FlowJam Legal. If you would like a consultation, feel free to reach out, FlowJam Legal. But what would you like to leave our listeners with as we continue to watch?
Right. I know a lot of people are nervous right now. They're petrified about what's going on. If you're in one of those predicaments, just know the next step is you may receive a letter for you. You may receive a letter from the Department of Homeland Security requesting that you show up for your appointment. Please go ahead and show up for your appointment. Make sure you have a reputable and a good immigration attorney, maybe to accompany you there. What they're doing, though, when you show up for these appointments, sometimes they will not take you into custody, but they may go ahead and put on that ankle bracelet, as Ms. Suzette will go ahead and maybe let you and play that clip so you will hear what's happening in Ohio. But if any in doubt, just please go ahead and speak with an attorney. If you don't have an attorney, an immigration attorney, just feel free to just go to flowjamlegal.com and I'll be happy to speak with you. Thank you so much, Suzette.
Yes, Ms. Opal Lee, thank you for making the time to call and let us know what is happening with the TPS. Have a great one and happy Independence Day. Thank you.
Thank you.
Awesome. We appreciate her. Again, she does wonderful work for us here at Voice of the Caribbean. She is a leader and one of these immigration attorneys you can call at any time. FlowJamLegal.com. FlowJamLegal.com. She just gave us an overview today. Again, don't take any information as direct legal advice. If you or someone you know are affected by TPS, you have to consult with an attorney on an individual one-on-one basis to get the proper advice and legal advice for your specific facts, your specific potential case. All right, flowjamlegal.com is where you reach out to her. But again, I'm going to play this clip because this is coming out of Springfield, Ohio. Y'all remember Springfield, Ohio? Remember during the campaign, we heard these what many considered racist remarks about so-called Haitians, so-called eating dogs and cats. You remember? It was a big deal because the mayor at the time of Springfield, Ohio, was inviting Haitian TPS holders to come to revitalize the area. And they came and they were hard-working contributors to society there in Springfield, Ohio. Now, as Ms. Opal Lee from FlowJam Legal has just pointed out, they have an intense decision to make when now, if you get a letter as a TPS holder to show up to your appointments, your immigration ICE appointments, they can possibly take you to custody. But we're seeing a trend where they're actually putting monitoring ankle bracelets on former TPS holders. Now, I'm going to play what is being reported from Scripps News. This is as of yesterday, August 5th, the judge who ends CPS for Haitians as DHS now is saying, I've seen reports, they're saying they're going to actively pursue. We don't know what that quite means yet. I don't want to ring an alarm bell here, but the Haitian community is bracing as ICE tracks Haitians with ankle monitors. That's what we're hearing. And I'm going to play it directly so you can hear as reported out of, this is coming out of Springfield, Ohio via Scripps News. We are seeing, reports in Miami, but I haven't seen any through official news outlets. I just see people on social media saying, oh, ICE is here, ICE is there. I don't see that. I have not, right? And we don't want to raise alarm, but we do want to inform you as to what's happening in other parts of the country. As Ms. Opal Lee said, they've been protesting in New York because there's a lot of nurses, even down here at Miami-Jackson. A lot of nurses are Haitian TPS holders. A lot of our caregivers and our CNAs, certified nurses and assistants. A lot of folks who are working in transportation, hospitality, all over. This is going to have a huge economic impact. And let me give you a little taste of what they're saying happened. That was a message from Scripps News YouTube page. This is a story that they ran yesterday, a recap of what's happening in Ohio with our Haitian brothers and sisters who once had a TPS, woke up the next moment without TPS. So they were here legally in the United States. And then according to a court ruling, a federal judge has officially ended the temporary protected status TPS program for Haitians following a United States Supreme Court ruling allowing the Trump administration to revoke the protections. So the Department of Homeland Security once again says Haitians who no longer have legal status, just because you don't have TPS doesn't mean there is not another legal status that you can apply for. Right? There's a way to change status. And again, Ms. Opali or any immigration attorney is a way to find out specifically with the circumstances that surround you and your families what to do. So it's important that you consult an attorney and see what legal rights you may have in terms of a change of status. You no longer have temporary protective status, but that don't mean you don't have, listen to me, a legal basis to stay, right? The agency is also offering $2,600 to migrants who voluntarily leave. But again, I asked, to where will they go? Right? Immigration advocates warn that the decision could separate families and send people to a country that the United States government considers too dangerous. They gave us warnings, y'all, for Americans to visit, but apparently it's safe now for our Haitian brothers and sisters. Anyway, we want to stay on top of what's going on with TPS. Again, seek legal counsel. And again, the opinions expressed here on the Suzette Speak Show are that of me, the host, our guest, right, and our callers, and are not necessarily that of the station's ownership or management. So we want to make sure all opinions are welcome and listener discretion is advised. We are going to stand in solidarity. I will, my opinion, right, with those who are fighting for their legal right to hopefully stay if they are legally able to. Again, I don't practice in immigration. I practice personal injury and medical malpractice, but you can call Miss Opali, flowjamlegal.com, flowjamlegal.com, flowjamlegal.com. So there are some options for you as she outlined when she was on to tell you about different ways that a legal status can be obtained. And of course, we are thinking about all of our brothers and sisters who are afraid to come out their house, afraid to go to the immigration appointment, who may be on an ankle monitor, who may be deported, right? So this is going to be a big shift for us here in the South Florida community, where we have such a high concentration of Haitian and Haitian Americans. Other places like Boston, Springfield, New York City are also bracing for this change. All right. I'm out of time. This is the Suzette Speak Show. Remember, come back tomorrow. We're going to dig into what happened during this Michigan primary. Remember Abdul Al-Sayed victory, sending tremors throughout the Democratic Party. Please get ready to vote, y'all. This is the Suzette Speak Show. I'm here every Thursday and Friday from 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. Thanks for listening. Keep it live.
LYF.
More right after this.
FM, HD2 Miami. Simulcasting on 96.9 FM. The voice of the Caribbean. This is the all-new voice of the Caribbean. Better sounding radio. WLYF HD2 Miami, 101.5 HD2.
Our community deserves experienced leadership that delivers. Dale VC Wholeness has spent his career fighting for families, supporting small businesses, and creating opportunities throughout South Florida. Now, he's ready to bring that same commitment to Congress, working to strengthen our communities, expand economic opportunity, and be a voice for the people.
I am Dale Wholeness, candidate for U.S. Congress District 20. Together we can build a brighter future, and I'm asking for your vote.
Vote Dale VC Wholeness for Congress.
Paid for by
Jano Star. Want to Charles? Yo, it coming like me fall and drop, brother. No street light, no out here, no kind of light. I saw them club at dark in a star. You hurt yourself? So what me I gonna do? God, floor jam legal. Me could sue them and get some money. Where you broke? You tour? Where you broke? You right, I know it coming like every part for me, bro. Yo, me I carry the hospital first. Then me gonna make sure you call